Welcome back to another episode where we sharpen that iron, polish off that rust, make that iron brand new here in this podcast. As you already know, I'm in a different scenery. Reason for the change is I'm getting a third roommate, maybe about sharing rooms for a couple months, so I had to move the office space out to the living room. That's just the facts. Anyways, besides that point, today I'm going to be talking about why calorie deficit is a phenomenon. And what do I mean by that? And as you know, I'm big on counting calories, which that has nothing to do with it. It's more about the calorie deficit. But let's just take it on the alternative side of you being in that position, right? You being in a position of having that dream body you want, having that dream physique, and you don't have to worry about being in deficit for the rest of your lifetime. You know what foods you like, you know how much food you need, you know what foods work with you know the calories coming in, calories coming out, and you're rocking and rolling on top of you enjoying your social events and top of you enjoying your favorite foods, all those things like that. So it's like, why do we go back on the side of being a calorie deficit, or why we push this phenomena of a calorie deficit? Well, again, a lot of times have changed. I mean, we look back in like 50s, 60s, 70s, right? And early on, is like they don't really be in a calorie deficit because they were more active. They knew they had like the same types of foods every time and things like that. And then as we progress, more and more conveniency became a lot more easier. A lot of diets came out between like yo-yo dieting, crash dieting, intermittent fasting. You name all these different diets, whole 30, paleo, you name it, right? But when it comes to that point, we push this phenomenon that we have to be in a calorie deficit, which is true if we want to lose fat and weight. But at the end of the day, what the real truth is, and once we get to that ideal number that you guys desire or desire to have that physique, then at the end, you really don't have to worry about being calorie deficit. Then at that point, you can just worry about once or twice a month. You just track how many calories you're eating, and then you're good to there. You only have to do it once or twice a month, and boom, you're it. That's it. No further thing. You have to keep tracking your foods every time, making sure you gotta go back in a deficit. If you just want to maintain that physique all year round, that's all you have to do. Why are you still able to enjoy those foods? Why are you still able to enjoy those social events? Why are you still able to enjoy the life you want to live without having to do all the tedious work? I mean, if you take a look at it, reason why we're in this position right now, I mean, again, things have made a lot easy, simple, lazy, convenient for a lot of people. So the activity has gone down. The food quality is not the greatest between all the fast foods, Uber Eats, DoorDash, all those things, accessible restaurants. Those things have gone down, but I mean, we just flip it. We don't have to worry about the calorie deficit, and we don't have to worry about why we gotta pay so much attention to it. Now, again, I'm all big on calories in, calories out, but at the end of the day, if you weren't in that worst position in the first place, you weren't out of shape, you weren't like trying to find a way to lose weight, you won't have to be in this predicament and try to figure out the calorie deficit. Because calorie deficit, I mean, there's a lot of things when these different diets, the calorie deficits have different meaning. But at the end, the one meaning of calorie deficit is whatever your total body caloric intake to represent on a daily basis is subtracted by the amount of calories you expend on a daily basis. So at the end, how much calories you burn, how much calories you consume is going to be a deficit based on the activity you do. So we look at all these like Whole 30s, paleo, intermittent fasting, all these things, they put you in extreme deficit to a point where you gotta adapt and it's not sustainable for long term. Because what happens when you do all these things? Well, you gain the weight back and you question yourself, why did you gain that weight back when you thought this process was supposed to work? Well, one, it's not sustainable for you because you're doing for something that's a short term thing, a short term fix that's not going to give you a long term result. Number two is it cuts a lot of things out. They don't teach you the protocols. They don't teach you steps. They don't teach you the guides. They don't teach you the science behind like why this has happened. They just tell you to do X, Y, and Z, and then there you go. And number three is last thing is not sustainable for you. Like you're not gonna again with Whole 30, you're not gonna have carbs for like you're not gonna cut out carbs for the rest of your life. Everything that you love involves the carbs. Your pizza, your ice cream, your donuts, your drinks, especially alcohol, they all count as carbs. So you ain't gonna cut those out. Like, don't kid yourself. Like you can stop bullshitting yourself on that. Another thing too is like you ain't gonna like if you want to do intermittent fasting, hey, go for it and things like that. But I mean, like at the same time, you don't have to cut out the window for yourself to consume the amount of calories. Now, it's a good future, but again, if it's not gonna be sustainable for long term for you, then I won't recommend doing it. What I recommend you doing is find something that you can get a consistent basic schedule of how many meals you consume a day, how much workout you do per week, how much steps do you get in a day, how much water do you intake, how's your sleep. If you can just intake all those five things I just mentioned right there, be too close to like 90% on point with those throughout the entire week, you won't have to worry about being in deficit because, again, go back to what I was saying before. One, you know how much food you're eating. Two, you know what foods are working. Again, when you see everything that's happening, like foods respond to people's body a little bit different. That's why it's like nothing works for when you hand a meal plan or hand anything to these people. Like it doesn't work for everybody. If it did, no one would be in this predicament and try and be in a calorie deficit or try and put themselves in a position to lose weight. All foods to people's body respond completely different. So you gotta pay attention to that. Does it make you feel bloated? Does it make you feel gassy? Does it make you inflamed? You gotta pay attention to these factors because that's what's really causing you to be in this predicament, feel sluggish, lack of tired, lethargic, brain fog, all those things like that, is you gotta pay attention how the response to food makes your body feel. Three is, once you can figure out the caloric consumption that your body needs for a daily basis, then when it comes to that point, if you really want to grow a little bit more or grow a little bit less, all you have to do at the end is add a little bit more quantity or decrease a little quantity. That's all you really have to do. You don't have to go like a whole different diet style to get yourself to that position. You add a little bit more or take a little less. Pretty simple, and that's all you have to do. And on top, you're just making sure you're staying consistent throughout the entire journey. You're making sure you're consistent with your meals, making sure you're consistent with your workouts, consistent with the steps, consistent with the sleep, consistent with keeping your stress down. Like if you can stay consistent for those five things week on, week out, I guarantee you a year or two down the road, if you're in the position where you're liking your body, you liking where your weight's at, you don't have to be in a calorie deficit for the rest of your life. You don't have to, excuse me, you have to track your calories for the rest of your life. You can do it once or twice a month because one, again, you know what foods you like. Two, you know how much you need. So when you know what foods you do or eat on a daily basis, and you know how much of it you need, you can just track your calories once or twice a month, and that's all you need to do. If you want to add a different recipe to it, you can just plug it in real quick and boom, there you go. You have it saved, you have it set, and you know how much you need of it at the end of the day. So when we look at this calorie deficit, it's a big phenomenon when it comes to these other diets that we don't necessarily really need BSLs there. And it's something we don't talk about a lot because we always push this phenomenon of like, oh, you gotta be in a calorie deficit to lose weight, you gotta be in a calorie deficit to lose weight, you gotta be in a calorie deficit. But what we're not really talking about is like we don't have to necessarily be in the calorie deficit in the first place if we didn't put ourselves to be in a position to be out of shape. Now, again, life gets crazy. We've got adversities. Life doesn't always go the way we always plan. But at the end of the day, if we can get these five, again, the five things I talked about earlier, consistent, prime into our habits and prime into our lifestyle, then whenever time gets tough, we still have the resources, we still have those habits, we still have that tools to need to adapt to certain different life situations. So when we keep pushing this calorie deficit, we lose the main factor. What really goes in a calorie deficit, or why do we even need to be in a calorie deficit? For me, I've been in maintenance for 8 months now. And I never had to really track my calories more than once a month because again, I know how much food I need. I know what foods work with me. And even on top of it, if I do want to go out, go to have a cheat meal, a cheat day, or things like that, I'm okay with it because I don't really necessarily track it. I just know how to adapt and how to customize my week if I go do those things. If I do go have a cheat day or something like that, I know I have to reduce my calories a little bit each day for that next week to make it minimal for me to maintain at 240, 245. So at the end, I haven't really necessarily tracked my calories for a long time. Or again, I only do it once a month. But again, I know what foods work with me. I know how much foods I need. I know how much calories I take in, how much calories I burn out. I know how much sleep I'm getting. I know my stress. I know all these factors. And at the end, I'm staying consistent with it. Even if you see me having all these foods, I still stay consistent with it. So when we take a look at this, it's like we just gotta focus on working these 5 components, and then we don't have to worry about the phenomenon calorie deficit. Because at the end, like calorie deficit is cool. It's like, yeah, we can use that tool to, if we want to get shredded a little bit more or we want to pack on a little bit more muscle. But at the end, it's just a tool. It's not a lifestyle sustainable for people try and put themselves in every single day when we can just, figure out the sweet spot that you want, the dream desire, the dream physique that you like. That's all you have to figure out. And once you get there, it's like, cool, you can maintain that without doing all the extra stuff for the rest of your life. And it's going to be more sustainable. It's going to be more enjoyable for you because you're not having the stress you have to worry about trying to find the next diet, trying to find the next tool, trying to find the next gateway drug, trying to find the next quick fix that's going to get yourself to that position. It's not going to work. So once you learn these 5 components, I guarantee you're going to enjoy the rest of your life without being worried, stressed, without having to be so tedious on your foods. You can enjoy life, go to these events, go enjoy your foods, and live your best life and things. I appreciate your time listening to the video. And again, I appreciate all the likes, subscribes, the comments on it. Catch you guys in the next one.